Conveniences. Between 1800 and 1890, over 6 million Americans built homes on the frontier using architectural features that were essential for survival but have completely disappeared from modern construction. These weren't decorative elements. They were life-saving technologies that meant the difference between surviving harsh winters and becoming another family that simply vanished when spring arrived. They needed home features that could maintain warmth when outside temperatures dropped to 40 below zero for weeks at a time. They needed systems that could provide fresh water when the nearest well was frozen solid for 5 months of the year. They needed storage solutions that could preserve a family's entire food supply through 8-month winters without refrigeration. They needed security features that could protect against wolves, bears, and hostile raiders using only materials available within walking distance. Every feature mattered. One poorly designed chimney could fill a cabin with deadly smoke. One inadequate root cellar could result in starvation when stored food spoiled. One missing defensive feature could leave a family vulnerable to attacks that killed entire settlements. One failed water system could force families to abandon their homesteads and lose everything they had worked years to build. The frontier families who survived multiple generations in the wilderness had perfected home features that were more sophisticated and effective than many modern systems. Architectural innovations that could maintain comfortable living conditions using only natural materials and traditional construction techniques. Features that provided security, comfort, and functionality that modern homes can't match even with advanced technology. But which specific home features allowed frontier families to survive in conditions that would kill modern homeowners in days? How were these systems constructed using only hand tools and local materials? What engineering principles made them more reliable than contemporary alternatives? And why did these proven technologies disappear when they were clearly superior to early modern replacements? Today, we're exploring the ingenious home features that kept frontier families alive and comfortable in the harshest environments. Architectural innovations that modern builders have forgotten but desperately need to rediscover. My name is Sam, and this is Wild America. 1. The underground root cellar system. The root cellar was a sophisticated climate control system that maintained temperatures between 32 and 40 degrees Fahrenheit year-round without external energy. These chambers were excavated 8 to 10 feet below ground level, where earth temperatures remained constant. The excavation required removing 400 cubic feet of soil for a standard 8 by 10 foot cellar, with walls sloped at 45-degree angles to prevent cave-ins. Construction used fieldstone walls 18 inches thick, mortared with local clay, mixed with sand and chopped straw in a 3:2:1 ratio. The stones were fitted using the dry stone technique, where each stone was shaped to lock with neighbors without relying entirely on mortar for structural integrity. The ventilation system maintained proper humidity levels between 85 and 90% using 2 4-inch wooden pipes made from hollowed oak logs. One pipe positioned near the floor provided cold air intake, while another near the ceiling allowed warm air exhaust. These pipes extended 2 feet above ground and were covered with wire mesh to prevent rodent entry. Interior shelving used oak or cedar planks arranged in tiers for maximum storage capacity. Vegetables were stored in specific arrangements, potatoes in wooden bins with slat bottoms for air circulation, apples wrapped individually in newspaper and placed in ventilated wooden crates, root vegetables buried in boxes of damp sand, maintaining optimal moisture levels. The double-door system included an outer wooden door made from 2-inch thick oak planks and an inner door separated by a 3-foot airlock chamber. This prevented warm air from entering during winter access, maintaining critical temperature ranges. The doors used leather hinges that remained flexible in cold weather and wooden latches that wouldn't freeze. This system preserved 500 to 800 pounds of food for 6 to 8 months without spoilage, providing survival foundation through long winters. Modern root cellars failed because builders abandoned precise temperature requirements, used concrete instead of breathing stone, and positioned them incorrectly relative to drainage and earth temperature zones. 2. The chimney heat exchange system. Frontier chimneys were complex heat recovery systems that captured and redistributed thermal energy throughout the house using thermal mass principles. The central chimney measured 4 feet by 6 feet at the base, constructed from fieldstone with multiple flue channels serving different heating zones. The foundation extended 3 feet below ground and 2 feet beyond the chimney base, using foundation stones weighing 50 to 100 pounds each. Chimney walls were 18 inches thick at the base, tapering to 12 inches at the roofline, with internal flue channels measuring 8 inches by 12 inches for optimal draft and heat retention. The heat exchange worked through thermal mass. The massive stone structure absorbed heat during fires and radiated warmth for 8 to 12 hours afterward. Internal baffles made from flat stones directed hot gases through serpentine paths that maximized heat transfer before exhaust escaped. Multiple fireplace openings allowed targeted heating. The main opening measured 4 feet wide by 3 feet high for maximum heat output. Smaller secondary openings of 2 feet by 18 inches were positioned in bedrooms, each with separate flue channels. Each opening included damper systems made from flat iron plates controlling airflow and heat distribution. The cooking integration featured a bake oven built into the chimney structure, measuring 3 feet deep by 4 feet wide with a domed ceiling promoting even heat circulation. A separate flue channel carried oven smoke through the main chimney while retaining heat for bread baking. Advanced systems included hot water heating through iron pipes circulating water heated by the main fire. These pipes ran through the chimney structure and connected to reservoir tanks near the kitchen, providing hot water without separate heating systems. 3. The sleeping alcove warming system. Frontier bedrooms were thermal zones that concentrated body heat using architectural features modern homes lack. The sleeping alcove created a microclimate, maintaining comfortable temperatures even when main areas dropped below freezing. Alcove construction involved building a recessed 6 by 8 foot sleeping area adjacent to the main chimney for radiant heat transfer. The alcove was enclosed on 3 sides with walls extending 18 inches higher than bed level, creating a heat trap preventing warm air escape while concentrating body heat. The bed platform was elevated 12 to 18 inches above floor level to capture rising warm air, constructed from thick oak planks on sturdy log beams. Underneath provided storage for extra bedding and personal items, while adding insulation from cold floor drafts. The curtain system used heavy wool or canvas hangings drawn across the alcove opening, creating an enclosed sleeping chamber during extreme cold. These curtains hung from wooden rods using iron rings, with overlapping panels eliminating gaps where warm air could escape. Ventilation was controlled through small ceiling openings with wooden shutters operated by rope and pulley systems. These openings prevented carbon dioxide buildup while maintaining warmth, positioned for gentle air circulation without creating drafts. The bedding system included rope-supported mattress frames, providing better insulation than solid platforms. Ropes were woven in 6-inch grid patterns and tightened regularly using wooden tensioning devices. Mattresses filled with corn husks, straw, or feathers were covered with wool blankets and fur robes, providing insulation equivalent to modern sub-zero sleeping bags. During extreme cold, families used bed warmers, long-handled pans filled with hot coals, to preheat sleeping areas. Advanced alcoves included heated stone systems where large flat stones were heated by fire, wrapped in cloth and placed at the foot of beds, retaining heat for 6 to 8 hours. 4. The multi-level storage loft system. Frontier homes maximized space through sophisticated loft systems, providing storage, sleeping areas, and climate control at different elevations, taking advantage of natural heat stratification and specialized storage conditions for different materials. The main loft, positioned 8 to 10 feet above the main floor, was accessed by split log ladders with wooden rungs spaced 12 inches apart. The loft floor used 2-inch by 8-inch oak planks supported by log joists spaced 16 inches apart, capable of supporting 50 to 75 pounds per square foot for heavy storage items. Storage zones were organized by temperature requirements. Areas above the fireplace remained warmest for drying herbs and storing seeds needing freeze protection. Cooler outer edges stored preserved meats, leather goods, and tools tolerating temperature fluctuations. Grain storage used wooden bins constructed from oak planks with tight-fitting lids preventing rodent access. Each bin measured 3 by 4 by 2 feet, holding 8 to 10 bushels depending on grain type. Bins were elevated 6 inches on wooden runners, preventing moisture damage and allowing air circulation underneath. Sleeping arrangements for children and hired hands included pallets positioned in the warmest loft areas near the chimney. These pallets were constructed from canvas or wool cloth filled with straw or corn husks, providing floor insulation while remaining portable for cleaning. Ventilation control used adjustable wooden shutters in gable ends, allowing hot air escape during summer while retaining heat during winter. These shutters were operated using rope and pulley systems controlled from the main floor, allowing temperature adjustment without climbing ladders. The pulley system for heavy items included block and tackle arrangements mounted to main roof beams, capable of lifting 200 to 300-pound loads from main floor to loft level. This system was essential for moving grain sacks and preserved meat that would be impossible to carry up ladders safely. 5. The water collection and filtration system. Frontier homes included water management systems that collected, filtered, and stored clean water using natural materials and gravity distribution, providing reliable access during droughts or when sources were contaminated or frozen. The roof collection system used split log gutters measuring 6 inches wide by 4 inches deep, positioned along the entire roof line with 1 inch per 10-foot slope toward collection points. Gutters were lined with pine pitch to prevent leakage and sealed at joints using oakum and pine resin. The 3-stage filtration process removed sediment, organic matter, and bacteria. Stage 1 used a wooden barrel settling tank where water sat 24 hours for particle settling. Stage 2 filtered through layered sand, charcoal, and gravel in a wooden box with perforated bottom. Stage 3 used hardwood charcoal crushed to pea-sized pieces, layered 6 inches deep between sand and gravel layers. The charcoal filter was made from oak or maple, burned in controlled, limited oxygen environments, creating activated carbon-absorbing impurities and improving taste. The entire filter system processed 10 to 15 gallons daily for typical families. Storage used multiple wooden barrels at different elevations, creating gravity-fed pressure throughout the house. The main 50 to 75-gallon barrel positioned in the loft connected to smaller distribution barrels in kitchen and washing areas through wooden pipes made from hollowed logs. Winter protection positioned storage barrels near the main chimney where radiant heat maintained above freezing temperatures, with pipes insulated using thick straw and cloth wrapping. Emergency access included hand-operated pumps connected to shallow wells, with pump mechanisms protected by straw-filled wooden housings. Distribution systems included wooden spigots carved from hardwood with leather washers preventing leakage, positioned at convenient heights for filling containers. Catch basins underneath prevented water waste and provided secondary uses. 6. The defensive window and door system. Frontier homes included integrated security features, providing protection against threats while maintaining normal living functions. These systems could transform peaceful homes into defensive strongholds within minutes when danger approached. Window systems used heavy wooden shutters from 2-inch thick oak planks, reinforced with iron straps and hinges withstanding repeated impacts. Each shutter included gun ports, 1 inch wide by 6 inch long openings allowing weapon fire while remaining protected. shutters secured from inside using heavy wooden bars dropping into iron brackets. Door construction featured double-layer security with thick oak outer doors and barricadable inner doors. Outer doors included small viewing ports with sliding wooden panels for visitor identification without exposure. Iron hinges mounted inside prevented removal by attackers using tools or leverage. Door reinforcement included heavy wooden bars measuring 4 by 6 by 8 feet, dropping into iron brackets mounted on door frames. Additional security came from wooden wedges driven under doors preventing inward forcing and iron spikes driven into frames reinforcing weak points. Communication systems between rooms used speaking tubes made from hollowed logs, allowing defensive coordination without exposure. These tubes connected main rooms to lofts, root cellars, and other defensive positions, with voice codes communicating status and coordinating movements. Escape routes included hidden exits through root cellars, loft windows, or concealed doors in less obvious locations. Root cellars often included tunnels extending 20 to 30 feet from houses, emerging behind natural cover like rocks or vegetation where families could regroup. Weapon storage featured hidden compartments in walls, floors, and furniture where firearms and ammunition could be stored but quickly accessed during emergencies. These compartments were concealed behind false panels or removable floorboards appearing to be normal construction elements. 7. The Smokehouse and Preservation Chamber. Frontier homes included food preservation systems maintaining meat supplies for 8 to 12 months without refrigeration, using controlled smoking, drying, and curing processes. These sophisticated facilities integrated with home heating and ventilation systems for maximum efficiency. The smokehouse chamber measured 6 by 8 by 10 feet with stone or thick log walls chinked with clay mortar, creating airtight environments. Multiple wooden rack levels spaced 18 inches apart held 300 to 500 pounds of meat during peak preservation periods. The smoke generation used separate outside fireboxes connected by underground flues, cooling smoke to optimal 80 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit temperatures for cold smoking. Fireboxes were constructed from stone with removable iron grates, allowing different wood types for specific flavor profiles and preservation qualities. Wood selection was critical for proper preservation. Hickory provided strongest preservation and best flavor for pork and beef. Apple and cherry woods were used for poultry and fish, providing milder flavors. Oak was used for long-term preservation of large cuts, while maple provided excellent flavor for smaller pieces. Meat preparation involved cutting beef into 1-inch thick by 6-inch wide strips, following the grain to prevent tearing. Pork was cut into 3-inch thick by 8-inch square pieces, accommodating higher fat content requiring longer smoking times. Salt curing preceded smoking, covering meat with coarse salt mixed with brown sugar and spices. The mixture used 1 pound salt per 10 pounds meat, with 2 ounces brown sugar and 1 ounce black pepper. Meat was buried in this mixture for 24 to 48 hours, depending on thickness. Smoking schedules maintained consistent low temperatures for extended periods. Cold smoking at 80 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit continued 2 to 4 weeks, with 12 to 16-hour daily fires. Hot smoking at 120 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit was used for immediate consumption, requiring only 8 to 12 hours. Temperature was controlled by adjusting airflow through dampers and vents. 8. The Laundry and Soap Making Facility. Frontier homes included dedicated areas for clothing maintenance and soap production essential for family health, featuring systems modern homes lack for processing raw materials to finished products using natural ingredients. The laundry system centered on wooden tubs constructed from oak staves and iron hoops, measuring 3 feet diameter by 2 feet deep, holding 15 to 20 gallons for washing large loads. Tubs were positioned near fireplaces for hot water access, with wooden platforms underneath protecting floors from water damage. Soap making used animal fat and wood ash lye, produced in batches lasting 2 to 3 months. The process began collecting 20 to 30 pounds of hardwood ash, oak, maple, hickory, stored in wooden barrels. Ash was processed into lye by constructing leaching systems where water poured through ash and resulting liquid was collected below. Lye concentration was tested using fresh eggs, properly concentrated lye floated eggs with quarter-sized areas visible above surface. If eggs sank completely, more ash was needed. If too much egg showed, lye was diluted until proper concentration was achieved. Fat preparation involved rendering 10 to 15 pounds of animal fat from butchered livestock. Fat was cut into small pieces and heated slowly in large iron pots until completely melted, then strained through cloth removing solid particles. Rendered fat was stored in wooden containers until soap making. Soap making combined 6 pounds, rendered fat with 1 gallon concentrated lye, heated while stirring constantly with wooden paddles for 2 to 3 hours until reaching trace, when dripped mixture left visible surface marks. Soap was poured into wooden molds and cured 4 to 6 weeks. Washing techniques involved shaving soap into hot water and agitating clothes using wooden paddles or washboards. Heavily soiled items were boiled in iron pots with strong soap solutions. Delicate fabrics were hand-washed in cooler water. Clothes were rinsed, wrung by hand, and hung on wooden racks near fires for winter drying. 9. The workshop and tool storage system. Frontier homes included integrated workshop areas where families manufactured, repaired, and maintained all survival tools and equipment. These complete manufacturing facilities produced everything from furniture to farming implements using hand tools and human skill. Workshop areas measured 8 by 12 feet with 8-foot ceilings accommodating tall projects and providing ventilation. Heavy wooden workbenches constructed from thick oak planks measured 6 by 3 by 3 feet, capable of supporting heavy hammering and cutting operations without movement. Tool storage used wooden racks, pegs, and compartments, keeping tools organized and accessible while protecting cutting edges. Hand tools hung on wooden pegs driven into wall studs, with specific locations marked by carved symbols or painted outlines ensuring proper return after use. The forge system for metalworking included bellows-operated fire pits reaching 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit for heating iron and steel. Leather and wood bellows operated by hand or foot provided consistent airflow. Anvils weighing 75 to 100 pounds provided solid surfaces for hammering and shaping heated metal into useful tools and hardware. Woodworking capabilities included complete hand tool sets for cutting, shaping, and joining wood. 2-man crosscut saws 6 feet long with 1-inch spaced teeth, felled trees, and cut lumber. Hand planes of various sizes smoothed surfaces and created precise joints. Chisels and gouges carved decorative elements and complex joinery. Leather working areas included tools for making and repairing shoes, harnesses, and leather goods. Leather cutting knives with curved blades cut patterns from hides. Awls punched holes for stitching with precise spacing. Leather was softened using animal brains and oils, then shaped over wooden forms called lasts. Repair capabilities extended to virtually every frontier item, from pottery to firearms. Pottery was repaired using pine pitch mixed with charcoal dust, creating waterproof seals lasting years. Metal items were welded using forges. Wooden items were repaired using traditional joinery and hide glue made from animal bones and hooves. 10. The grain processing and flour production system. Frontier homes included complete grain processing facilities, transforming raw grain into flour and meal using manual labor and simple machinery, providing food security. Modern homes lack. These systems processed enough grain to feed families for entire years. Grain storage used wooden bins constructed from oak planks with tight-fitting lids positioned in the driest house areas, preventing moisture damage and rodent access. Each bin measured 4 by 4 by 3 feet, holding 12 to 15 bushels depending on grain type. Multiple bins stored different grains: wheat, corn, oats, barley, each requiring specific storage conditions. The grinding system used hand-operated grist mills with two 18-inch diameter by 6-inch thick circular stones weighing approximately 150 pounds each. The stationary bottom bedstone and rotating top runner stone were carved with 1/4 inch spaced grooves radiating from center, guiding grain outward during grinding. Stone preparation was critical for proper flour production. Grinding surfaces were carved with shallow grooves, angled to move grain outward as stones rotated. Stones were periodically dressed using special picks to maintain sharp cutting edges and proper groove depth for efficient grinding. Grinding began with cleaning grain using winnowing baskets, shallow wooden trays allowing grain to be tossed in air while wind removed chaff and debris. Clean grain was fed slowly between stones through wooden hoppers with gaps adjusted to produce different textures from coarse meal to fine flour. Sifting used wooden frame screens with different mesh sizes separating flour into various grades. Coarse screens removed large particles and unground grain for reprocessing. Medium screens separated flour from meal. Fine screens produced finest flour for bread making. Each screen was constructed from wooden frames with wire mesh or woven cloth stretched tight. Flour storage used wooden barrels with tight-fitting lids lined with clean cloth preventing contamination. Flour was packed in layers separated by cloth, with bay leaves added to repel insects. Properly stored flour remained usable 6 to 8 months, providing foundation for bread and baked goods, forming frontier nutrition bases. Bread making used daily flour production mixed with water, salt, and wild yeast starter maintained from previous batches. Starter was kept alive by daily feeding with fresh flour and water, creating living cultures that could leaven bread for years without commercial yeast unavailable on the frontier. These 10 forgotten frontier home features represented sophisticated engineering solutions, providing security, comfort, and self-sufficiency, using only natural materials and human labor. Modern homes, despite advanced technology, lack the integrated systems that allowed frontier families to survive and thrive in harsh environments for generations. "A house ain't just shelter," wrote frontier carpenter Samuel Mackenzie in 1847. "It's a machine for living that's got to work when everything else fails." These forgotten features prove that the best technology isn't always the newest. Sometimes it's the wisdom that's been tested by time and proven by survival.